Do you know about What A Gwaan, where you can get news about the Jamaican culture and just learn about how Jamaicans are doing, as I said, yard and abroad.
You get to learn a new Jamaican patois word or even a Jamaican phrase.
I look forward to the patois word of the day.
The patois word is pasa pasa.
Word today is taco ram.
Our word of the day is duppy.
Twang. A little twang. Not true.
I enjoy tuning in to What A
It
Gwaan.
happens every Friday at 7 p.m. So check them out. And bye from Toronto.
Dodds, Québec et la Jamaïque, écoute What A Gwaan. Yes, What A Gwaan.
I am a big fan of What A Gwaan.
Relevant and entertaining, so keep up the good work.
Watch What A Gwaan.
Big up yourself. What A Gwaan.
What A Gwaan. Yes, What A Gwaan.
Watch What A Gwaan.
Always say I'm going to walk one in a yard. Check it out. 7 p.m. every Friday.
Greetings, folks. Greetings. Welcome to What A Gwaan. Today you've got me. Nicole is somewhere in transit on a private jet, somewhere between London and YYC. And because of that, I get to do the entire show. So welcome again. It's March. It's still International Women's History Month, and we celebrated International Women's Day on the 8th. For those who celebrate Ramadan, happy Ramadan to you. And today we're going to continue our conversation around our women, how they contribute to our world. And we've got an absolute fantastic guest waiting in the wings. Hagir is going to come share with us her perspectives, her experience on the constant fight for recognition. Of course, we always appreciate your feedback. If you're watching the show, we're having a little technical difficulty to start, but we're here. Please share some comments, share some questions, share a hello, share a wave, something, so that we all can make this interactive. Of course, before we jump into the real business, we have to talk about the patois word of the day. So it's patois time. And the patois word for today is bangarang. If you know Jamaican patois and you know what bangarang means, please put it in the comments, share it in a sentence, explain to me how you may have caused some bangarang, or maybe you were a part of some bangarang. Who knows? Patois word for today on Patois Time is bangarang. As always, we ask you to follow the show, check out what we're doing. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. There's also LinkedIn. And of course, you always can get every episode on whatagwaan.ca. So share that, whatagwaan.ca, to your friends and family. They can follow us from there on either Facebook or YouTube. Last week we had a fantastic discussion with Ahinke Olaleri about the female entrepreneur's journey. She shared a lot of gems about the female journey, why it's important to have purpose, why it's important to connect community with your business, why it's important to conquer fear as a female entrepreneur, even worse, a Black female entrepreneur. She talked about taking her white friends along with her when she was looking for capital, but her purpose didn't change, even she had to change her plan. To watch it again, jump on our YouTube channel, jump on our Facebook channel. There were so many gems as we celebrated women and discussed the female entrepreneur's journey with Ahinke Olaleri. Today, we're sharing news on what's happening in the community. In Calgary, the Jamaican Canadian Association Alberta, they're hosting their regular monthly meeting tomorrow. They do it every last Saturday, so the 25th of March. They're having their meeting at 611 3208 8th Avenue Northeast, Calgary. It starts at 7 p.m. And of course, they're welcoming everyone, and there is a special birthday celebration for those born in March. So if you're in Calgary, if you're interested in what Jamaica and Jamaicans are doing, check out the JCAA monthly meeting at 611 3208 8th Avenue Northeast. It starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow. If you're in Montreal, get your fitness going by joining Soca Size Saturdays with Vanessa. The spring 2023 session has started already. It started on March 18th. It goes through May 6th. It's every Saturday at 10 o'clock at the Jamaica Association of Montreal, which is at 465 Jean Talon West in Montreal. There's a cost of $70 for all 8 sessions or $10 for each drop-in class. For more information and to register, call 514-241-3493. And some news from Yard. As always, we have to share some information of what's happening in Jamaica. For those who didn't know, there's a 44% increase in the minimum wage in Jamaica. Prime Minister Andrew Holness recently announced this increase to the national minimum wage. It was done in his presentation in the 2023-24 budget debate in Parliament. And he said that from June 1st, 2023, the national minimum wage will increase from $9,000 for a 40-hour work week to $13,000 for a 40-hour work week. He also announced an increase in the minimum wage for industrial security guards from $10,500 a week to $14,000, which also takes effect on June 1st. So there you go, some news from Yard. If you are a foreign professional in Calgary struggling to advance your career, there is help for you. If you're recently moved to Calgary from overseas, or if you know someone, there is support through the Shuttle for Calgary Foreign Professionals Program at Higher Landing. You can go to higherlanding.com to book a free 90-minute session to learn more about the program and how you can find your way through the employment market. SCFP is a career program dedicated to helping foreign-born professionals thrive in Canada. All right, welcome back. It's time for A Time to Reason, where we look at topics about health, wealth, culture, community, and history. And today we're going to look at, of course, as we're celebrating International Women's Month and things about women, we're going to talk about the fight for recognition. And today I've got Hagir Sail here. So Hagir is special, trust me on that one. She's lived in Saudi Arabia, she's lived in Sudan, she's lived in Canada. She's a graduate from the University of Calgary's political science program. She's done a ton of things in the community, including being a part of the CPS advisory board. She's Vibrant Communities Calgary as a community facilitation and engagement specialist. But maybe more importantly, she's just big on women, she's big on Black people, she's big on justice, and she's big on ensuring that Calgary, among all places, is a better place where we can practice vulnerability with one another and make it an absolutely fantastic place to live. I am happy to add Hagir to the discussion here on What A Gwaan. Hagir, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Listen, it's Happy Ramadan.
Thank you.
It's International Women. I call it International Women's Month or Women's History Month. International Women's Day was celebrated on the 8th of March. And today we want to talk about this constant fight for recognition. Despite the celebration, the topic remains in the news and all over. So maybe where we can start again is how would you assess the current level of recognition and just for women generally? I'll get to Black women in a bit.
The current idea, the current position of first, before I start, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And it's Ramadan, so it's like a little bit, the time is kind of tight. It's almost breakfast time. But current state of recognizing women in general, it's much better than it was before. So I think the discussion so interesting is that everybody's like, well, it was better than before. And that's true, but it could be better. There's so much more to do, especially that women don't as represented in areas as they should be. It is, in poverty. So I think in general, the recognition of women is there, but it's not enough in order for it to actually reflect their percentage in the community, right? We're 50% of the population, yet we're nowhere near that representation when it comes to any decision or any positions that are important.
What do you think are some of the barriers to the desired level of recognition?
One of the major barriers is patriarchy and the way the system is created. Men generally. I know we're going to get into the race aspect later, but it is patriarchy. It's keeping women in one place. It's not giving recognition. An example, it's cheaper to have a female CEO than a male one. He's automatically paid more because he's a man, right? Right now, the pay gap is something that is real in Canada. Women are paid less than men, and we'll discuss that later on more, but you seeing that in retirement, how much retirement money is put aside is because she's paid less, has less, and therefore she'll fall into poverty even more, even though women live longer than men generally. And so she has less money, right? She has less money to spend for a longer period of time. So it's all, compound these issues. So patriarchy, the way the system functions, but it's also cultural norm, ideas that,
right.
Women should be here, right? Women should be in one place. Women should be taking care of the kids. But we know there is the, I'm not going to call it a phenomena, but there's the reality of single mothers who are the mother and the father and the breadwinner and everything. Yet she still works in a system that would still give a married man more or a man more than, even though she's doing exactly or even more than he is.
Yeah. One of the things that comes up is the question. If we still have you here, it seems like my video is going. Is the question of culture. Where does culture fit into this whole issue of recognition? How does it contribute to where we're at?
It contributes a lot. If you work in the corporate world and you create policies that need to be followed, told as a strategist that culture eats policy for breakfast. And so what policy, what rules you put into place, if the culture sees that. So I'll give you an example. I studied political science. Culturally, where I'm from, study that men take. Politics is something men do, right? Women don't delve into politics, don't study politics. They study to be a teacher, a nurse, maybe a doctor, right? And then even an engineer is kind of like, but still she could be an engineer, an accountant, right? These things that are seen a little bit more female-like, but politics or philosophy or astrology or astronomy or hard sciences. This is the culture and the gender norm. It's not a place to be. So whenever I tell people I studied political science, they're like, that's a man's study. Why would you study it? And again, culture plays a role. I know what I'm talking about, but because he feels that he's a man, he knows more than I do, right? And it's not just him, it's also other women upholding that practice as well. So
Right, right.
right? So women also upholding these cultural beliefs and teaching their kids on it and their sons on it, on treating their daughter-in-law way because she was treated that way, and you're like, you're keeping up with that patriarchy, with that misogyny, because you're doing the same thing that's being done, and you're trying to keep the culture and tradition going, but it keeps people down. Culture plays an absolute huge role. So does religion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Huge. That's another.
That's another discussion for another day.
Yeah.
I soon get to the issue of race, but I want to talk about women contributing to where we are at. Uh, are women recognizing that in some cases that's them perpetuating the status quo and the lack of recognition that other women are fighting for?
In some aspects, yes. I think the way it's so fascinating how, like, you put in that question, are women recognizing they're keeping each other down? This is what makes here, even white supremacy and these kind of things, so hard to grasp, is because not necessarily mean it's one, it's A against B, right? It could be A against A. So it's not just, women, men against women. It's also women holding other women down, the system supporting these women who hold other women down, and then giving them more platform, giving them a voice, giving them more power to keep the status quo and crush anybody who says anything otherwise. And so I think, yes, there is some recognition. I'm seeing it, like, it's getting a lot better. So today is better than yesterday by a lot, and it's getting a lot better that women are recognized. They're calling it toxicity, right? So they're like, okay, let's look at this, and you're holding other women down, helping, you're part of the patriarchal system. And then that's where the conversation shifts. Before, it used to be like patriarchy, just men, but now you'd be like, well, you're a woman who's trying to hold other women in place and not help them grow, or even flourish, or even change things that changed, because you are advocating for the status quo because it benefits you. Every woman who advocates for this status quo, she's benefiting from it, or she thinks she is, and that's what
Right.
causes all these issues.
All right, let's talk about the story of the Black woman and the gap between Black, BIPOC, however we want to define it, and the non-BIPOC, if we want to use that terminology, and the issue of recognition between both. Is it a real thing, and where are we seeing it?
Can you reword the question one more time? Or say it one more time?
I'm trying to understand, is there a real issue between BIPOC women being recognized or struggling to be recognized versus non-BIPOC? Is that just a fantasy? Is it real? And if it is, what is causing it?
Okay, so it's 100% real. The recognition BIPOC women. I think, and also the complication that comes is even within the BIPOC community, you've got the women of color, and there is you could call it lateral hierarchy, lateral violence, in which there is within the people of color group, in which Black women are not recognized the same way that other women of color are. There's a difference between being a Black woman, there's a woman of color, because I'm recognizing that people who come from communities that are considered the citizens, right, they get more recognition than we would as a Black women,
right?
Or indigenous women. So Black women and indigenous women kind of fall under the same category in this they are at, and sometimes indigenous women will go a little bit lower or higher, depending on what it is the conversation is. But other women of color from other communities are that the recognition is easy, right? They're seen as, because they're part of model citizen, so it's real. And then also that creates a friction, because I could be doing the same work that someone else is doing who's not Black, woman of color who's not Black. She gets fully recognized for it. I don't. I get shunned. And if I recognize, the recognition is skewed, right? And then so that piece of how again, I know we'll talk about it some more later, but that systemic racism comes in. Women of color do not get recognized at all. Actually, when we look at it, like only 6.2% of the boards in Canada, right, are women of color. So the women who hold board positions own 29%, not even 29%, less than that, but 6.2% who hold board positions are women of color,
Yeah.
right? And if you at black women, very small, very very small
So
percentage,
so so there
right?
there is a reality out there. Uh, how do we bridge this gap bit by bit? And answer it for me in the context of you saying this to a young, ambitious black woman who's looking to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
What's that climb like?
Never stop. Do the best advice of always tells me, he's like امشي في الشارع كأنه الشارع حق ابوك وادخلي كأنه الحتة حقتك, which translates to the street like your father owns it. Walk into the place that you are in like it's yours, right? So you have to have that confidence, and come in with it, because it's hard sometimes to keep fighting, to keep pushing, to keep doing. My advice is to keep going, because guaranteed, with all the problems that we are seeing, the positive thing is we are discussing these things. If we go back 10 years, none of these issues were discussed. Nobody talks
Right.
about it openly. This is not something that we talked about. We're talking about it today, which means that it is available, is in the forefront. Something, we are at the cusp of, making
Yeah.
those moving things and changing it. So it's excellent. Young women, keep on doing what you're doing. And if you're tired, it's perfectly okay to take a break. It does not any less than anyone else. It does not even take you out from the fight. It's perfectly okay to take a break. Take care of you, because in this entire equation, you're the most important person. You're the most important thing. So when you're okay, the struggle is okay, the fight is okay, the push for change is okay. But if you burn out, we lose, a warrior, right? We lose someone within our ranks, and that's not something that we want. So self-love, something that is absolutely there. So my advice for young ladies is, I know you feel like you need every single battle. You don't need to. It's a marathon. It's a whole life journey. Take a pit stop, take a break, and come back
Yeah.
again. It's perfectly fine. And
Yeah.
ask for help. Ask for help always, anytime.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Recently, International Women's Day was celebrated. Does the celebration add any material value to the issue we're discussing? Or is it just another thing that happens? There's a day for everything each year, right? Or there's a day in every year for everything. Is the celebration of International Women's Day adding any fuel to this issue of recognition for women?
I think it is. I think
Okay.
every year, yeah. I think there are, of course, we could always be like, there's a day for everything now, but I think with International Women's Day, what's really beautiful that you actually see is right across the line, there are celebrations and events happening within the city alone, right? Different communities doing different things privately and publicly, out in the street, within their own little organizations, messages that are being sent to everyone else. There is a moment of hyper focus. That's true. That does not carry out through the whole year, but it's enough to conversations, to push for some recognition that isn't there before, right? So within this month, for example, lots of women have been recognized. Lots of awards have been given, lots like that. And to some, it may seem so superficial, and you're just giving out things like this. But I think it's something we could definitely use to keep pushing forward for that change, for that system and cultural change that we want to see. So I think the more that we celebrate it, the more cemented. And then, like, I like how you're saying is in International Women Month, right? And then it just gets pushed more than just a day to a month, and the events take the whole month to take to work out, instead of just being a day. So I think it's fantastic to have those recognitions in those days, and those moments of just stopping and hyper focusing on something, because then it just gives an opportunity to create something better. Hey, Donovan. I could keep going. Just there he is.
I tell you, this is the day for challenges. All right. You are there. I can hear you, so I think you can hear me too.
Yes.
I have two more. I have two more quick ones. Let's hope our technology holds up. Uh, I'm curious about the emotion that you as a woman feel as we continue to have a discussion on a topic like this. It's been going on for many years. I know when we served on the advisory board, we used to like, okay, here we go. It's the same topic again. Uh, how does this conversation feel? What are the emotions that it triggers for you in 2023? We're still talking about recognition for a woman.
Yeah. This conversation with, the anti-racism conversation are the same thing, right? Lots of deep breaths. Lots of trying to lots of trying to keep it together. I think more importantly is I am, as dark as it may seem to some people, I am seeing the needle slowly shift, right? You are seeing the change. And so I am more, I'm tired. I'm something very true. You get tired a lot, like the emotion that you get, and it's that there's a cost, right? And so and one of the emotions is just sometimes exhaustion, because the cost and the labor you have to do to keep going and to exist to to stay sane and to take care of yourself. It's just so much, and there is no, there is no compensation for that. You have to make it up for yourself. I think it's more of,
Right.
for me, the emotion is, how do I not my exhaustion or frustrations, right? Or sometimes, just anger, right? And then not to burn out, and take care of me, but also try to recognize that there is a cost to this that I have to pay, whether I am actively within the of making the change or not. We're all paying a cost by the simple, it's almost, the race tax. It's by the simple, it's the black tax, right? It's a black tax by the simple fact that there's a tax that we pay on just this, just labor that we have to do to just exist.
Yeah.
And then, so I think it's just sometimes just sitting here and trying to reconcile all of that, and then deal with the frustration sometimes that come with that. But knowing that it gets, hopefully gets better.
Well, at least there's optimism. I sense there's optimism. I have one last one before we hit wrap up. The role of community in not just the dialogue, but the solution around the recognition of our women. Where does community fit in the equation?
I think the community, nothing works without community. Like we can't do anything, completely honest, without the support of the community, without the community being there, standing, all. And here, every community has a mother, a sister, a grandmother, a niece, a female friend. We wouldn't exist without the women. And so I think when we talk about it, because I hear that question a lot, and people are like, what can community do to, and community wouldn't exist without us, right? We are half population, and we are very integral to the growth of everybody and the growth of the community. So I recognizing that in the community, women are equal contributors, and then what they say is taken seriously, and it's given the credit and the respect that it's, and then also supporting and funding, the work that the women. I know no community would flourish without the women backbone, because to be completely honest, without the women come the children. So without the women, there are no children in the community. Without no children in the community, there's no future. It's that simple, right?
Yeah.
So I know, you could have the communities and the uncles could dominoes or cards or whatever the whole time. That doesn't mean it's flourishing, and there's future. But when the women get involved, the children get involved, the community is a lot more alive, youth, and there's new blood coming through it. And so, whenever we ask what role can the community play, the community is women, and the women are they're it, and therefore give it all the supports that it needs to flourish.
Well, there you go. Folks, the community is women. You are it. And that's maybe the statement I'll take away from today's conversation. Again, always a pleasure talking to you. Always a pleasure having your support here on What A Gwaan. Take care.
Thank you so
Enjoy
much.
the rest of Ramadan, and we'll touch base at some point. All right.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome. Another great discussion comes to an end. I'll be right back. Listen, this has been a great discussion. David, thanks for taking the time. All right. All right. We continue. This year today was a little void of comments and stuff. I know we had some technical stuff or issues. But if you're watching this delayed, do me a favor and put something in the comment section. The patois word for today and patois time was bangarang. And for those who don't know the Jamaican patois, bangarang means an uproar, it means chaos or commotion, it means a disturbance. And depending on when and where you're using it, you'd possibly say something like a pure bangarang, or every time that person shows up, a pure bangarang, right, which suggests that there is chaos, a commotion, an uproar when that particular individual shows up at your place. So bangarang, use it in a sentence, share it in a comment next time. What's happening next week? Next week, we're going to close out International Women's Month with a discussion with Ilat and Bernie on embracing equity. That was the theme for International Women's Day this year. And we are going to get their perspective on what that all means. So join us next week, same time, same place, as we discuss embracing equity for the last session or episode in March. If you've got a story you want to share, share it with us here on What A Gwaan as we share our story. You can advertise on What A Gwaan. It can be weekly, monthly, or for the entire season. We've got viewers all over the world. Share with us. Contact us at whatagwaan.ca or whatagwaancnd@gmail.com. As always, we ask you to follow us, check us out on our social media handles. There is Facebook, there is Instagram, we're on YouTube, and of course, we're on LinkedIn. Go to whatagwaan.ca where you can see different episodes. You see who is supporting this program. And of course, you can share it with others. Help us to spread this content all over to those who are interested in Jamaica and Jamaican culture and what's happening in the diaspora. So follow us and check us out as always. This was a tight one. There's lots to do. And I said, Nicole has been traveling, so hopefully she has landed safely and all is well. She will be back with us next week. And so will I, as we discuss embracing equity with Ilat and Bernie. Again, patois time, patois word today was bangarang. And for those who are watching delayed, thanks for watching. For those who have watched live, thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time. Stay safe. Walk good.